This program brought to you by English, the 2021 English Yearling Sale Series. Entries open now.
Vecchio charges to the lead.
Hello, I'm Caroline Searcy. Welcome to another edition of Bred to Win. Coming up on this week's show, we catch up on all things Cambridge stud with Henry Plumtree, visit Spendthrift Australia in Victoria, and hear from Coringal Farm's Stuart Lamont about the horse who made him love racing, plus Darley Stud's Adam Brayshaw and his English sales story. First though, the latest breeding news in the Cambridge stud Bred to Win wrap. Racing at Randwick on Saturday featured one of the main lead-ups to the world's richest race on turf, the $15 million Everest, the Concord Stakes, and it was a decisive win by South Australian star Gytrash, beating home fellow English graduates Nature Strip and Dirty Work. The Gordon Richards-trained English slot holder in the Everest is by Lope de Vega, his dam Miss Barley's by Fastnet Rock, from a daughter of the Great Strawberry Road. Gytrash was sold as an English Great Southern Weanling, then on-sold at the English Premier Yearling Sale by Maluka Thoroughbreds to South Australian trainer Gordon Richards.
Danger Seller half in front.
It was a great day for English all-round, with I Am Invincible's Dame Giselle winning the Group 2 Furious Stakes, having been sold at the English Easter Yearling Sale by Sledmere Stud to Sir Owen Glenn's Go Bloodstock for $500,000. Chris Waller runners trifected the Group 2 Chelmsford Stakes with the imported son of Mozart's Amadeus Wolf, Mr. Seawolf, a half-brother to Gilgai Farm's shuttle sire Cable Bay.
Dreamforce still a length in front.
John Thompson's Dreamforce won the Group 2 Tramway Handicap for the second year in a row, having been passed in at the 2014 English Easter Yearling Sale by Kitchwin Hills. From the tough race mare Eskimo Queen, Dreamforce was also part of a great day for Coolmore's sire Fastnet Rock, with, as mentioned, the son of Danehill also dam sire of Gytrash and tasting group success in the Group 2 Foxbridge Plate in New Zealand with another superior daughter, Tiakal's four-time Group 1 winner Avantage. Fastnet Rock was also dam sire of No Nay Never's Need I Say More, winner of the Group 3 Breeder Stakes, also for Tiakal.
Humidor's lifting in the middle.
At Moonee Valley, the Fian Stakes was a remarkable resurgence for the tough son of Teofilo Humidor, with the three-time Group 1 winner from a Zabeel mare, a descendant of the influential Habibti. Humidor's return to racing a real credit to the training skills of his newest trainer, Chris Waller.
And Night Raid between them is coming hard.
With the name Night Raid made famous in particular as the sire of the Great Farlap and another Melbourne Cup winner Night March, Night Raid, the modern version, a filly by Vancouver, has plenty of great blood too, judging by her win in the Atlantic Jewel Stakes. This Night Raid was sold by Three Bridges Thoroughbreds at Magic Millions for $160,000 to Seamus Mills and Mick Price. The English online sales received another boost with the McEwen Stakes win of Command's daughter Bella Vella, with the Sangster Stakes winner having been sold on the platform for only $22,000. The early September English online auction is highlighted by dual Group 1 placed She's Dashing, third in the Queensland Oaks to Youngstar, and second by an equally short margin in the Australasian Oaks. The sale also offers two daughters of Not a Single Doubt, With Certainty and Dismissal, who was placed in the Group 2 Sweet Embrace Stakes behind Hungry Heart. Last Start winner Garrison by I Am Invincible is also being sold as a racing proposition, having won two of his last three starts at Wyong and Gosford.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
The Run for the Roses produced an upset of sorts, but a great story for over 4,000 investors in Authentic, who fought back to win the Kentucky Derby from Tis the Law. Owned by Spendthrift Stud and by their leading US sire Into Mischief, he was bought by Newgate Farm shareholder SF Bloodstock and Jack Wolf's Starlight West for $350,000 at the Keeneland September yearling sale. Spendthrift America and B. Wayne Hughes bought a majority share earlier this year, and My Racehorse sold over 4,000 shares in the colt, including to well-known New Zealand trackside presenter Aidan Rodley. The Kentucky Oaks was won by a granddaughter of More Than Ready, She Dares the Devil. Some great racing in Europe across the weekend too, with Dream Ahead's Dream of Dreams winning the Haydock Sprint Cup. Cambridge Stud's dual Group 1 winner will feature shortly. Hello YOUMZAIN, in navy and white colours, finished 5th just behind the first 4.
But Persian King is cleared.
It was a Godolphin Quinella in the Group 1 Prix de Moulin, with Kingman's Star Miler Persian King too good for the fast finishing son of Shamadal Pinatubo.
Enable coming away, typically serene destruction.
Magnificent dual Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe champion Enable showed she's on song for another attempt at the great race with an emphatic victory in the September Stakes. And Australian sires featured with stakes wins in Europe too. Mighty Gurkha by Sepoy winning on the same all-weather track as Enable in the Group 3 Serenia Stakes. And Pride of Dubai's Fancy Man won the listed Ascendant Stakes at Haydock.
Fancy Man in the Ascendant, clear.
Cambridge Stud in New Zealand has bounced back from a terrible year in 2019 with some great successes, including a Royal Ascot Group 1 by their future sire, Hello YOUMZAIN. Henry PLUMPTRE has the latest from one of the world's great breeding operations.
Probabile sealed the deal right on the post. Probabile's won the Group 1.
Hello YOUMZAIN, Dream of Dreams flashing home. Hello YOUMZAIN.
Henry, how has it been in New Zealand with another lockdown, mainly in Auckland this time, but quite an extraordinary year for the industry?
I think the racing industry in both New Zealand and in Australia has been exemplary in the way that they've handled it. Obviously the example in Australia is probably a role model for the rest of the world. They've managed to keep going in just about every state except Tasmania. In New Zealand we did lock down for probably 8 weeks, 10 weeks with the racing. We've returned to the racecourse, and I think we've shown to the government that we're responsible citizens, and I think that's what people are looking for.
Well, so many exciting things have happened for Brendan and Joe Lindsay and the Cambridge team after a really tough 2019. Probabile winning the Group 1 Surround Stakes. She wintered in New South Wales. Vanazza, or La Vanazza as she's called now, and some other really promising racehorses coming to Australia to represent you.
We don't go over there with world-beating aspirations with these horses. We rely on Jamie Richards very heavily. Obviously, we put a lot of faith in him and his stable, and they've done a fantastic job with Probabile last year. So we've got a couple of other fillies that we think will be competitive over there. And in fact, the 3 fillies that we've sent, we have a very good relationship with John Thompson in Sydney, which is very important at a time like this. And we've got a couple of other people helping us out as well. And we've got a very good girl in charge of the horses over there. All things going well, we should have a good spring.
A huge highlight, and just a shame they couldn't be there, was of course Hello YOUMZAIN, the horse you bought for stallion duties when he retires, winning the Diamond Jubilee Stakes at Royal Ascot. To have your colours winning a Group 1 in that most elite of elite company for both humans and horses globally, it just must be almost beyond words.
Well, it was pretty exciting. I mean, it was, I don't think anyone on the Cambridge Stud team didn't watch it, and no one got any sleep for the rest of the night. We went up the next day to Auckland, had a big lunch with Brendan and Joe. So look, you dream about those things as an owner. To have them, a horse in their colours on a day like that, we're very lucky to have the horse. He's franked that form in Deauville. That was a pretty tough run for him on very fast ground, but the fact that he ran second against similar opposition, you know, it pretty much franks his ability. I talk to Kevin Ryan, his trainer, probably once a fortnight. He is quite definitely the stable favourite up at Hamilton Lodge. They absolutely love the horse. They've loved him since day one when he walked into the yard. You know, they're hopeful that he might even get another Group 1 before the end of the season. We'll either go back to France for the Prix de la Forêt, which is a 1400 on Arc Day, or we'll go to Ascot for the Champion Sprint, just to finish up.
Another exciting piece of news and vindication of the great decisions you're making at Cambridge is the purchase by the huge global Coolmore operation of your stallion ALMANZOR's sire, Wootton Bassett.
I think I might have said to you 2 years ago when we brought ALMANZOR to New Zealand that it was a bit of a leap of faith. Having seen the horse in Normandy, we couldn't really not buy him. He was such a good type. But the Wootton Bassett factor two years ago was quite a mountain to get over. Why, I'm not quite sure, because Ifraj by that time had already had, I think, 8 individual Group 1 winners. However, it was what it was. But we talked to Nicholas about the crops that he had coming through. We also talked to Nicholas about the quality of the mares. And I think it was a big boost for the horse that he went to 40,000 this year. But I don't think anyone could have predicted what had happened with the Coolmore purchase. And, you know, from our shareholders' point of view, that is a massive shot in the arm for them. I think it makes the whole industry in the Southern Hemisphere that's got attachments with Coolmore sit up and look at ALMANZOR differently and look at Wootton Bassett as a serious horse.
ALMANZOR in the pale blue, found is trying to reel him in.
How is ALMANZOR? Of course, his first foals are now just yearlings, and he's looking stunning now he's back on the farm.
Caroline, he looks no different to what he did last year. He is the most relaxed character. He had a pretty torrid trip this year. He didn't turn a hair. He's standing in his box over there now, looking out the door, listening to hearing what you're saying about him. But look, we were booked full in 2018. We were booked very full last year, and Nicholas very kindly allowed us to go over the 140 limit last year with the problem that we had with Roaring Lion. And this year he's going to cover a full book again as well. So in New Zealand terms, that's a massive endorsement for a young stallion that he's had 3 full books, and we've sent some beautiful mares from the Cambridge Stud Broodmare Band. But our shareholders have really put their faith in him, and they've sent some fantastic mares as well.
But it's Embellish, and Embellish won the Guineas.
And Embellish, well, we know his sire Savabeel is now a 6-time champion New Zealand sire. Embellish was a New Zealand 2000 Guineas winner and some beautiful first foals on the ground.
Just arriving, we got a picture of his first filly foal the other day. Every stud master says they've got beautiful foals. I'll wait and see. I'm sure in a month's time we'll have a really good representation of his foals on the ground. When they've only got one, it's a bit hard to tell. Look, he's going to cover a nice book of mares again this year, and he started off last year with 140 mares. So look, he's had a good start, Caroline, and we're looking forward to the season with him as well.
Haverstock, of course, sadly no longer with us, but wow, there's some really impressive types coming through at all the major racing stables I know around Australia and New Zealand.
I think, you know, with the quality of the books that he covered in those last 3 years, that was always going to happen. He should have a very good spring in Australia. He's got some nice horses in Melbourne. He's got some nice horses in Sydney. I think he's even got a nice horse in Brisbane, which is almost unheard of for him. He's a massive loss, but we're still very interested in his progeny. And we'll keep an eye out for the right colt. If we find the right colt with the right pedigree, we would definitely stand him.
You now have the Cambridge Stud Heritage Centre as well. That was a great time-lapse you put together of it being built, and, you know, it's almost there.
Brendan's sort of taken over the mantle of Bob the Builder. We now call him Brendan the Builder, and he just moves from one project to another. The Heritage Centre is going up. I can see it as I'm looking at you on the camera now. It's going up behind me. The steel work is all stood. The roof will be on next week, but it won't be operational, I gather, until the end of March next year. But there's a lot of detail going into it, and Brendan and Joe, being the sort of people they are, they want to get it right. So the attention to detail there is going to be fantastic, and we're into it, as they say.
Henry, of course, you have a huge experience in the racing and breeding world. You've been through equine influenza, of course, here in Australia. How do you see the ongoing effect of this COVID period?
We would be foolish to think that we're going to get away with nothing impacting on the industry, because I think it's going to impact on everybody. It'll impact on the developed countries' economies, and if it impacts on the economies, it's going to impact on racing and breeding. That's a fact of life. Crystal ball gazing, will the world be the same in 5 years' time? I think the thoroughbred industry in this part of the world will be very vibrant in 5 years' time, but it'll be different. I remember at the end of 1980s, 1990, 1991, when the market here completely fell off a cliff. The parameters were completely different, Caroline. There were interest rates at nearly 20%. There was no money in the system, and bloodstock was grossly overvalued. Now, the parameters now are completely different. There is a lot of money in the system. Most of the big breeding outfits, both in New Zealand and in Australia, are very well founded. And there's an industry here that wants, you know, they want the product. Racing, you know, punters want the product, racing wants the product, and the rest of the world, it seems, because they come here on a regular basis, wants the product as well. So we've got to be upbeat, but we've got to be realistic about the next year or two. I think it's going to be not a question of will we take a hit, it's just going to be a question of how we manage it so it's as low as possible. The whole point of having a big racing string and having competitive racehorses is to keep both the stud and our proprietor engaged with what we're doing, you know, and the performance end of our business is the most important end of it. And in an Australian, New Zealand context, Australian racing is the most important at the moment. But we aim to change that.
So much to look forward to for everyone at Cambridge Stud. Coming up after the break on Bred to Win, Darley Stud's Adam Brayshaw and his favourite English sales story, and Spendthrift Australia and their burgeoning stallion operation in Victoria.